The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. If only I had that for the Genjo Koan Teisho last year. Remember the end of the Genjo Koan? What happens? Anyone? Can you remember that?
Two guys.
Yeah, he keeps
fighting
fighting.
over a fan.
Fans himself.
Keeps fighting. He doesn't answer. He just keeps fighting, and then he just bows.
That's it.
Yeah.
Doesn't answer the question. Just fans himself. And what's that conveying for you, Benyat?
If the nature of air is permanent, that's the question, isn't it? If the nature of air is permanent, why do we have to? Why are you fighting? And then the teacher is, and that's a little bit like Dogen's question, isn't it? If we're all Buddhas, why sit, right? What's the practice for? But then I think if you don't practice, I don't think you can see it, or at least you're not aware of it, perhaps. And the only way I can put it is that most of the time I feel myself blind and kind of, not even seeing the beauty of people, and just a generous act can be a very simple thing. And I think Zazen does open that, gives you the opportunity to maybe be grateful for things you wouldn't even think about, unless you don't have them.
Cohen? Something on your mind?
The first year I was sitting with you, you asked me, why do we sit for Zazen? And I answered, to see. And you responded, did we not see already? And I replied with, but are we aware that we're seeing? I feel it's in similar vein.
So practice. The body is a Bodhi tree. The mind is like a standing mirror. Always try to keep it clean. Don't let it gather dust. Poor old Shenshu gets a bad deal out of the Platform Sutra. What he says is spot on. Totally spot on. This is Shenshu. What's being found is the air. Bueno. Bodhi doesn't have any trees. This mirror doesn't have a stand. Our Buddha nature is forever pure. Where do you get this dust? Then he composed another verse. The mind is the Bodhi tree. The body is the mirror's stand. The mirror itself is so clean, dust has no place to land. So, practice is the wondrous mind of nirvana. It is the subtle realization and working towards that subtle realization. And the straightforward Buddha mind we already have is what we don't actually, to begin with, even have to work towards, because it's already there. So again, we have this apparent contradiction between the two approaches of practice, but they're one, you know, they're one way to practice. And so what is this mind, this wondrous mind that Weinon is talking about? What is this Buddha mind, this wondrous mind? Well, it is ordinary mind. Ordinary mind. So we think our Zen will be some big drama, some big fireworks, a big spectacle. But what it does is it opens our Dharma eye to this amazing, unfathomable, ineffable this. You know, in the Judeo-Christian traditions, they say God. They say God. God. Allah. Yahweh. But Hongzhi, for example, the great Chan teacher, Hongzhi just says it. So it's not a personification of the ultimate truth, like in the other traditions. It is beyond even that. This actual reality can't even be called God, because God is too limiting. You know? So Hongzhi says, you know, he sees it, or it sees him, or he is part of it, but he is not it. So this straightforward mind is simple and direct. It is honest, not manipulative. It is sincere. This is the Buddha mind. The manipulations of our social interactions, of our political maneuverings, of our trying to gain favour, of trying to be seen well. That isn't where we find straightforward mind. Straightforward mind is simple and sincere and honest and direct and not manipulative. Very simple. Actually, this whole Dharma is very simple. You know, this whole Dharma, people read the Diamond Sutra and they go, oh my God, or the Heart Sutra, they go, this is, I can't get my head around this, But it's very simple. As that Korean monk who teaches on the Diamond Sutra, who's an American Korean monk in the Korean tradition of Zen, he always says that the first passage of the Diamond Sutra is the entire Diamond Sutra. The first couple of lines. He says, that's the sutra. There you go. And the Diamond Sutra is the sutra that cuts through illusion. The sutra that inspires, that awakens Weinon, our friend Weinon. And the opening of the sutra is the Buddha. Here's the opening. It's full of the secret teachings of the Dharma. Okay? The secret teachings are there under our nose, right? In the first opening lines. Deep secret. So secret and so obvious we don't see it. Shakyamuni gets up, sits zazen. Then he goes into town with his begging bowl and he begs. Thus have I heard, says Ananda. Begs his food, comes back, has his meal. Then he puts on his kesa, or puts his kesa, folds it away. Can't quite remember what he does, but he looks after his physical needs. He arranges a place to sit, and he sits down. That's the secret teaching. That's it. That's the whole Diamond Sutra. So, this is it. This ordinariness, this ordinary, straightforward mind, this honest to goodness, down to earthness of ordinary life is the wondrous mind of nirvana. So, in Sesshin, we don't notice this. We don't see this most of the time. So we come on Sesshin, and I always say Sesshin because of my Irish upbringing, but it's Sesshin, okay? I was talking to Tanto about this today. I can't help us, sorry. Sesshin. We touch the heart-mind deeply on Sesshin. And the noise is turned down, the background noise. The noise of the world. The news, mobile phones. We don't even have money. We haven't been spending money. We haven't been handling money for days now. We haven't been interacting with the outside world. Who knows what's happening in the newspapers? In the news. All this volume, all the responsibilities, all that noise is turned down and we focus on practice. And then we see a blossom fall while we're sitting zazen. And that's the Dharma. Revealing itself. But it can't be just a blossom falling, okay? If we're doing kinin and we see a piece of dog shit, okay? That is also the Dharma. Revealing itself. All of it. The whole thing. So this is Sesshin, and we're deep into our 7-day Sesshin now, and we arrive at a place that we weren't before. Here we are now. So this straightforward mind is a kind of a natural, spontaneous outflowing. What are you doing, Patrick?
Sorry.
The noisemaker.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you doing? Really, tell me. What
Oh well, it was just happening. Just the Dharma talk was going on. It was,
you were cleaning the floor there.
That's kind of what it is. I'm afraid. Do you remember the little robot from the movie?
You don't need to keep talking. You can stop now. Okay. Now, okay, go on. They all feel bad for him.
Nah, it's grand. Keep going.
Finish your story.
No, it's a silly little thing. Do you remember the robot from the movie WALL-E who goes around cleaning stuff? Yeah, I picture him a good bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
I don't know Wally actually.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was alright.
So really, in fact, in a way, what you were doing was what the Buddha was doing at the start of the Jhana Sutra. You were sitting down, doing what had to be done. Okay, good. What was I saying?
You were saying when we're on Sesshin,
Yeah.
And we leave our money, we
Yeah.
leave things behind.
yeah, we've been hearing not background noise.
You were talking about dog shit.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yes.
So this is yes. Thank you. The dog shit.
Rings the bell.
So this is it. So we don't like the dog shit and we like the blossoms. Yeah. So we don't like the dog shit and we like the blossoms, and we don't like the gamasio in the morning. But we like the porridge, and so this is the training. This is you don't like gamasio, do you?
No, but actually at this moment, it wasn't that I didn't want it. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure should it be Cohen taking it or is it mine. And
Okay.
then I was like, oh, okay, just enough.
Okay.
No, I will take it. But yeah, I don't like salt. So.
Okay. So yeah, so discriminating mind. Discriminating mind. So the training, even in Aryoki, we see the training is to leave aside this discriminating mind and to accept the bits we don't like. We don't have to keep them actually. We just have to accept them, and then maybe not keep them. So this straightforward mind is a simple expression of wisdom, prajna, and which Waynon says is, the same as meditation, samadhi. And within that too is sila, is morality, is ethics. And these three traditional breakdowns of the parts of following the way are really one, and they are within this natural Buddha mind, this deeper mind. So this mind is an unconditioned mind, you see? It's not swayed by for or against. Okay? It doesn't, and we are naturally like that, it doesn't have opinions on things. It's not an argumentative mind, and we're trained to be argumentative and to be discursive and to be intellectual and to be rational and to look for arguments and to have an opinion on matters. But this Buddha mind, that's fine, that's just life. I'm not saying stop doing that. What we're saying is that the training is to try and set that aside and be spacious with a deeper awareness. A deeper awareness which I someday will
developed to such a point that I don't even get annoyed when someone makes noise when I'm making a Dharma talk. Do you know? But you know, we like things to be, all of us like things a certain way when we're in certain situations and moments, you know. So, but on Sesshin we try and touch this deeper Buddha mind, this unconditioned mind. So what is conditioned mind? Conditioned mind is the mind that is bubbling and boiling away in our zazen. You know, when we're sitting down, or not, you know, just go, oh God, I don't have that, I'm doing it wrong. No. If you're doing zazen, you're doing it right, okay? But the conditioned mind is the bubbling and boiling pot of our mind, which we are observing without discrimination. It is, our conditioned mind is our personal history and our karmic history, which those of you who've been studying the Yogacara knows is you know, stored in our store consciousness, in our eighth consciousness, as the Yogacara constructed. So this deeper mind is unconditioned. It is not conditioned by our personal history. It is not conditioned by external likes and dislikes. It is free from all this. It is deeper than our personal injuries, the damage that has been done to us through our human existence, the indignities we have suffered, the abuses we have received, the tragedies that have visited us, and the tragedies we have visited upon others, and the indignities that we have placed upon others. This is the conditioned mind. Underneath that is our unconditioned mind, our deeper mind, our Buddha mind, the mind from before your parents were born. You know that famous poem? What's your original face before your parents were born? So this is the mind of, this is the mind we touch on Sesshin, and this is the mind we touch in Zazen. And in this Zazen, you know, the four vows which we recite very often, and which you're going to recite as part of your Jukai and as part of your Kodo ceremony, to save all sentient beings. This is for Weinon. This is starting in your own mind, clarifying your own mind. And how do you, for example, how do you really see yourself? We see ourselves very clearly in Zazen. And on Sesshin, we don't see ourselves clearly when Sesshin isn't happening usually in our own lives. But we can get a very clear view of ourselves on Sesshin. And we can clarify that and work with that. To save all sentient beings, though beings numberless. To transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible. So for Weinon, this is not, we go out to the world and teach people, you're deluded, you fools. This isn't it, okay? This is, you start with yourself. Okay? You start with your own deluded self. Oh, what is it about the mote in someone else's eye? There's some biblical...
Oh, yeah. First remove the mote from your own eye.
Yeah. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
First remove the mote. What's a mote?
A mote is like a speck.
Right,
it's a very old word. Everyone
Yeah.
has it's like a speck or a piece of dirt.
Okay. So first remove the mote from your own eye.
Maybe.
Okay. That's very dharmic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
I think it's from the Old Testament.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Moat did mean the trench around the castle filled with
No,
water.
no, this is
Well,
MOTE.
it would make sense that that also was obstacles. So
Yeah.
there might be some. Yeah.
Oh yeah, interesting in terms of etymology.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. You start with yourself. That's what Wayne Nunn is saying, you know. So the moat, yeah. First remove the moat from your own eye. So the delusions, the 4 vows, get rid of your own delusions first. Get rid of your own delusions. So what Wayne Nunn is doing with the 4 vows and repentance and the whole. Remember the Platform Sutra, the first part of it is set as an ordination ceremony, as a lay ordination. And all this work has to start in here, in ourselves. This is what Wayne Nunn is saying. And we all have work to do. Myozan has work to do. Michael has work to do. Patrick has work to do. Doshin has work to do. We all have different things, you know, to work on. The thing about Sesshin is it shows us very clearly sometimes what those things are, and sometimes that's not fun. You know? Myself and Tanto were talking, we had a cup of tea earlier on, and Tanto was just saying, I just can't get that thing right. You know, in ritual or form, he says, I just can't do it. And it's like me giving out to Patrick about the noise. We all have our thing that Sesshin shows up. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And be it lack of patience, be it not able to master form, be it, you know, whatever it is, Sesshin will show us. And it will bruise our ego. Huh? It'll bruise our ego a little bit, and we have 2 choices. We can either say, the moat is in his eye. Well, to hell with that. Okay? Or we can say, well, maybe I should look first at myself. The moat is in, maybe here, you know? Moat, wonderful. What a great word. Okay. So off the cushion, what is this Buddha mind? Well, this Buddha mind, in this Buddha mind, the dog shit and the blossoms are important. Okay? Everything is important. Everything. So, you kind of go, well, in Zen they're so obsessive that we do the ritual this way. Or they're so obsessive that the incense has to be straight up. And I've made, by the way, you'll notice this now, okay, I'm giving you fuel to criticize me, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the incense is listing in any way, I haven't done my job correctly. You know, I have to try and get the incense as straight as possible. How's it looking there, Kozan? Bit off? Yeah. Yeah. So, they are harsh, aren't they? They're very harsh. I guess if their teacher is harsh, then they're going to be harsh. So, but
Place a spiritual level.
huh?
You can place one of the bubbles.
Spirit levels.
Spiritual level.
Very good. You get a
Let's
spirit level.
measure your Zen, right? Like.
That's it. So that incense, right? So these little things are trainings that everything matters. Okay? Now, what happens, so everything matters, you know, planting the incense, everything happening at the right moment, everyone leaving the Zendo in correct order. All this doesn't matter. It matters because everything matters. Now, that's the training. When you leave here, just let it go. Because otherwise it becomes a sickness. It becomes a new way of obsessing. a new attachment, a new problem. And it's not designed to be that. So it's designed to achieve, it's designed to train us to a certain point and then to liberate us. In the Pali Canon they say this is a raft to take you to the other shore. And then you leave the raft. Okay? I have to, advocate on behalf of the Buddha Dharma, but I don't know any other faith tradition that says this is provisional. No, it's always the ultimate truth. But no, this is provisional. That's the good news. You don't have to stay here with me on Sesshin forever.
It just feels like forever.
yeah. So it's provisional. So everything matters. There's a big, big teaching. Big teaching in Zen. Everything is important. Because everything is important, you are also important. Sometimes you don't feel important. Sometimes you feel that. But you also matter. You're a child of Buddha. This metta starts with the self. We feel shame, we feel inadequacy, we feel guilt. Women more than men. We feel all these things if we're a woman. Doesn't it appear like that sometimes? Yes. Yeah. But we all feel it. Take it from me. I happen to be a man in this particular incarnation, so as you are a woman. Kanze Ando is both, So we feel shame, we feel inadequacy, we feel guilt, and the metta starts with us, with ourselves, accepting ourselves, and then going out and bringing that love to other people, and making a mess out of it and trying again, making mistakes, because we're human, we're all fallible, and that's one of the reasons I came to Zen, because the teacher's not a guru. The teacher's just an Aegis from Galway City in this case. Do you know what I mean? No, seriously. The teacher doesn't, in Zen, the teacher is not a guru. It is not an incarnation of a bodhisattva in a literal sense or anything like that. The teacher is a human being, and that's important. Because we are all human beings. So we have to make a mess out of things and try our best again. So we look after all the little details. We make sure the incense is correct. We make sure the flowers are nicely. You make sure the sand is nice and even for the hako box, the shoko box. John McGahern, the Irish writer, said, when asked, how do you write a novel? He said, you attend to your sentences. You attend to each sentence. So you craft, you hone each individual sentence. You do that. You do it again and again and again and again. And then there's a novel. Very Zen. Leitrim Zen. John McGahern used to give out to Colm Tóibín apparently, because Colm Tóibín, the other Irish writer, used to always go, he'd meet John McGahern and say, I'm going to a literary festival in Sao Paulo, or I'm going to a literary festival in New York or whatever, and John McGahern would just go. Because he basically lived on a farm in Leitrim and looked after the cows and all that. And he'd say, I think you travel too much. So too much. Like, he reminds me a bit of Wayne Nunn or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So nothing special. You know, here we have nothing special. Except that's the deceit. It is actually something amazing. Did you ever meet really, truly smart people, really intelligent people, to the point of genius? How often do they go around bragging about their intelligence and smartness, you know? Very, very rarely.
Sometimes they don't know it themselves.
Yeah, sometimes they don't. I remember there was this guy who used to drink pints in a pub in Galway called PJ's in Salt Hill, and he always looked like a bit of an old alco, you know. And then one night I saw two German, students who were travelling, and they got into conversation with him, and I could hear some of it, and I found out that he was a professor in the university, and his speciality was time. Right, and he was trying to explain to the German students that he had a theory that time's arrow was an illusion, and he had equations where he argued that we were actually travelling backwards in time. Okay. He might be right.
So he wouldn't have to pay for his pints then.
Yeah. Probably explaining that to the barman. Sorry, I'll have 2 points. Thank you. I'm not paying because we're travelling backwards in time.
It's his money back.
Yeah, he puts out his hand for the money. So, nothing special. And at the same time, the truth is, it's precious and very special. It's the 3 pounds of flax. The thing is, our mind gets caught on things. It gets caught on expectations that this guy, if he's going to be a professor of time, has to be a certain type of individual. That John McGahern has to be a certain type of individual, you know, if he's going to be this great writer. That the Sesshin should be a certain way. That the teacher should be a certain way. But most often that your life should be a certain way. So we get caught on, you see, that's fine having all these preferences, but getting caught on the preferences, getting stuck there is the problem. That's why, remember Waynon was talking yesterday, the day before, about formlessness within form. That's something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but he was saying something like that. That's what he was talking about. So if we can have a kind of a moment-to-moment free mind that doesn't get hooked and attached and caught on these things, that's what the training helps us with. That's the polishing of the mirror. And as we polish this mirror, the luminosity of the mirror is there all along. And then no preferences, and we are already at the other shore. The other shore is here. The Pure Land is here. Waynon in the Platform Sutra is teaching, and he says he's got 1,000 people, or something. He's got thousands of people in the literature, and he says, he says, you know the Pure Land. You're familiar with the idea of the Pure Land, and chanting to be reborn in the great Pure Land of Amida Buddha. You know, He says, wait for it, I'm going to show you the Pure Land right now. Right, again, a little dramatic device from Wei Long. He says, right this moment, I'm going to bring us all to the Pure Land. Right? And then he teaches about straightforward mind and leaving aside preferences and moment to moment mind. And this is nirvana. This is enlightenment. It's right here. Right here. This is the Pure Land. You know, and if we can live our lives with this sila, this morality, this with ethical, with ethics, with samadhi, with, you know, meditative awareness, and with prajna, with wisdom, then we don't need heaven, actually. You know, we don't need to posit some future heaven. The end of L'Étranger by Albert Camus. He's in the cell and the priest comes in and he doesn't want to talk to the priest. He sends him away. Blah, go away. And he's looking out the window of his cell over, I think it's Algiers. It might be Oman. Yeah, it's somewhere in Algeria. And he's about to be executed in the morning. The prisoner is he's going to be killed in the morning. And he looks out at the lights of the town and he realizes that he was kind of this was it all along. This life itself was some kind of paradise. You know? And he didn't realize it. There it is. So, what's the name of the main character in the L'Étranger? Merceau or something like that? Whatever his name is.
Does he even have a name?
He does, yeah. The main character in The Outsider, in L'Étranger by Camus, on the eve of his death, realizes this is it. This is the beautiful, wondrous mind of nirvana. My deepest wish for you, dear friends, is that you realize this now in this lifetime. Let's chant then. I have to chant first. May the merits of these teachings penetrate into each thing and all places, so that we and every sentient being together may realize the Buddha way. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, Mahaprajna, Paramita. Let's have some walking outside. So if you just wait, we'll have a. Actually, don't wait. Just